Hi everyone. So yesterday I went and seen Godzilla vs. Kong in theaters after a year and a half of being away. Like my last film before this one that I saw was The Rise of Skywalker. So Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm very on the fence about this one. Primarily because of the many different positives and negatives about the film that give it a lot of mixed vibes. So let me give you my overall thoughts of the films before this one. I thought Godzilla 1 was okay. When the monsters are on screen and Bryan Cranston was on screen being that person who knew everything or looked into stuff too much after his wife's death. I thought all that was fantastic. And it felt like a true action film with monsters and stuff. It looked awesome. But everything else afterwards, when Ken Watanabe and even Aaron Taylor Johnson all split up and everything, it just kind of gets a little bit boring because it comes off as characters basically having a goal in mind, but they're just kind of doing stuff. They don't really give you too much to kind of root for them. Um, but yeah, Godzilla 1, I liked it fine. I think it's okay. When the monsters and Bryan Cranston were all on screen, the shit was getting blown up and they were fighting, that all that stuff was pretty cool. Everything else was just kind of standard and boring. I have not seen Kong Skull Island yet. As for Godzilla King of the Monsters, I made a YouTube video on that one when I was going out and seeing it, but I didn't give an opinion on it. I thought King of the Monsters was better than the first, primarily because of the different monster properties being introduced in this one. How there was like Mothra and Rodan and Ghidorah, and I thought that was pretty cool. Um, I also liked how it connected to Kong Skull Island too, and it was just pretty cool. Um, I know that the thing that I personally didn't really like about King of the Monsters was that the fights were all in the dark, or it was a cloudy background, or it was a dark Antarctic night. It was just way too dark to see the action. Another thing that I hated was the fact that whenever the monsters were fighting, they constantly cut away to the human characters that we clearly don't care about. Or at the very least, the we don't really give too much of a crap about their plot, rather the monster plot, where they're just fighting and stuff. It's all awesome to watch. Um, I also like the more diverse cast than the original, with Millie Bobby Brown and Vera Farmiga and Kyle Chandler. That was all fantastic to watch. But I felt like everything that was good about King of the Monsters with the human characters got gypped in this one. And everything that got worse with these monster fights in King of the Monsters or the original Godzilla got monumentously better in Godzilla vs. Kong. So I'm going to explain everything that I thought was fantastic in Godzilla vs. Kong without spoiling anything. And I'm going to say what I thought was bad without spoiling anything, because I know that some people are probably going to want to see it. It's out on HBO Max and all these other sites that people can go watch it. Um, so the stuff that I thought was good, the monster fights, everything in regards to Godzilla and Kong fighting was fantastic to watch. It was so epically shown and portrayed and everything. It was just so awesome to watch because it was such an intriguing watch through to see like Kong and Godzilla battling underwater, um and even the Hong Kong fight was pretty awesome too. And then that final fight with Hong Kong in the daytime was just really cool too, especially with the like hatchet axe or whatever. That was pretty cool. Um, I thought that it was much better lit than in Godzilla King of the Monsters. I mean, like lit and like you could see the monsters. It wasn't like dark with like an Antarctic night or a cloudy background or anything. It was like brightly lit for you to see the characters. And it was so awesome to kind of see how Godzilla was fighting and even seeing how Kong was fighting in many different scenarios. It was just really cool to watch. Um, and I thought that discovering more about Kong as well, and when they get to like this Hollow Earth thing, was actually pretty cool, and I like sort of the mythology in regards to Hollow Earth, and even just the idea of all that was going on in between, like the ancient rivalries and the hatchet and everything. That's pretty cool. I thought that that was pretty cool. The things that I personally did not like, in my opinion, were obviously the human characters. I'm not trying to throw any shade or any kind of bad things about, say, Millie Bobby Brown or Brian Tyree Henry and all these other characters. I understand them. I get the kind of character that they're meant to portray. Millie Bobby Brown is meant to be the badass female who almost supposedly doesn't take shit from anybody, and they want to know a lot more answers in regards to why Godzilla has been acting the way that he has. And Brian Tyree Henry is like the conspiracy theorist. He, to me, like when I was watching the film, I immediately got a Bryan Cranston vibe, like Bryan Cranston from Godzilla 1. I got that kind of vibe from Brian Tyree Henry's character within the movie. I just kind of felt that way because he's the kind of guy who's looking for the truth about this company, Apex, and what they've been doing behind the scenes and how they're relating to Monarch and stuff like that. And then you have Alexander Skarsgård and a few others that are taking on Kong's plot. And another thing that I personally really didn't like was primarily that there was a lot more focus on the human characters that aren't given much. For example, Alexander Skarsgård, in the movie, this isn't really that big of a spoiler, but Alexander Skarsgård's character had a brother who went in for a mission and then got killed. And they pretty much address it like, I'm sorry about your brother. And that's it. They don't really do anything with him. They don't attach that to the emotional conflict that he'll have later. It's just there to kind of give him some sort of backstory or whatever. And the same thing even goes with Brian Tyree Henry, his character. His wife died, and that's pretty much it. They just mentioned that he had a wife that died, and that's it. They don't attach that to Brian Tyree Henry's main character conflict or anything. It's just there, just to kind of give him some kind of character backstory or whatever. And I thought that sucked because King of the Monsters did this better. Like King of the Monsters, Kyle Chandler and Vera Farmiga, they're like their husband and wife, and they had a son that they lost. It was explained in the intro to that film, named Andrew. He died during all the events surrounding Godzilla in Godzilla 1. And Vera Farmiga is doing all this stuff to kind of make sure that Andrew's death isn't in vain. Meanwhile, these deaths in Godzilla vs. Kong, like Brian Tyree Henry's wife and Alexander Skarsgård's brother, they're just mentioned and that's it. That's primarily it. Another thing that I didn't like about Godzilla vs. Kong in particular is how you don't really get much of Godzilla. Like after this first fight on the boat, you barely see him for like 25-35 minutes because so much focus is now on Kong and discovering Hollow Earth. Like the two subplots are primarily Alexander Skarsgård and his group going into Hollow Earth and doing stuff with Kong and discovering this like life source or radiation thing in that particular world and following Kong's journey. Meanwhile, the Godzilla plotline is Millie Bobby Brown, Brian Tyree Henry, and literally the dude who has like a design kind of like Ned from Spider-Man Far From Home and Homecoming with like a creak sounding voice to him. Who's literally just there to be a comic relief and only contributes one thing at the very end. That is pretty much it. And it frustrates me more than anything. Because, it's just, I hate when characters are just introduced to be comic relief. They're kind of like that one guy who was played by Justice Smith in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, where they're just there to kind of like make some kind of comic relief thing because they're a kid and stuff like that. I don't know. But it was frustrating like that. I didn't think that was great. But literally, Brian Tyree Henry and Millie Bobby Brown and even that one guy, their entire plot line is pretty much going into Apex and figuring out what they're doing. That's pretty much it. They're trying to figure out what exactly is Apex and its boss Walter Simmons, played by Demian Bakir, what are they up to? Why are they asking for this life source that Alexander Skarsgård's group is going for? And part of me, when I was watching the film, was like, I feel like the group regarding Kong and the group regarding Godzilla, they're gonna come together and start helping each other against whatever is going on in regards to Apex and stuff like that. I thought that was gonna happen, but no, they barely show up together in any way whatsoever, and you only see them together pretty much at the end, looking at something, and that's pretty much it. Um, so therefore, it just feels like you're just watching two subplots, and you're mostly following Kong throughout the whole thing, and you're just with Godzilla's plot. You're just following the human cast. You're not seeing Godzilla, and you don't see Godzilla for like 30 minutes. You only see Godzilla when the Hong Kong battle is starting to take place because of the whole Godzilla targeting another Apex facility in Hong Kong, because of some specific thing that I'm not going to spoil. And that's when the final battles and stuff with Kong and Godzilla start to take place, and it's all awesome to watch. It really is. And even just the whole Godzilla crawling on all fours thing, that was pretty awesome to watch, because I have never seen that happen before. But that's just primarily it. With the battles, I love when Godzilla and Kong fight, but when it's all dragged out to where it's like, oh, this first fight happened, and then you don't have them fight for another 35 minutes, and then you finally get them to fight, and then it goes to morning, and Godzilla goes out doing something else, and then Kong finally joins in for the final bit, and that's just it. You barely see them fight, and that kind of sucks. The one thing that I did like, though, was the deaf girl and the sign language thing, and how that contributes to Kong's communication. I thought that was pretty cool. But for the most part, it honestly just felt like these human characters were basically doing things, and that was it. They don't really have that much personality. That doesn't really contribute too much to the overall monster fight. They just kind of do stuff. And I know a lot of people have went on and complained about Millie Bobby Brown's character kind of feeling a bit wasted in Godzilla vs. Kong, and I sort of get where you're coming from. Like, she doesn't really contribute too much. She's just kind of there to be the intrigued badass woman character, and she herself does not contribute too much like she did in King of the Monsters, where she played that like sound thing to distract Ghidorah. But no, her entire bit is pretty much just discovering stuff along with Brian Tyree Henry and everyone else, and that just kind of felt stupid. That's why I said I felt like the characters were kind of gypped. I also wanted to see a lot more of Kyle Chandler. He only got a few lines, and that was stupid. Like, his entire arc, Kyle Chandler's arc, is literally just being in a facility and not wanting to worry about Madison. That's it. He doesn't contribute to the Godzilla fight. Like, he's about as speechless as everyone else who's watching this final fight go down, and they're like, what the heck is that? And stuff like that. But that's just it. That's all he does. It's just, he's in the background, he's worried about Madison, and that's just it. That is just it. There's nothing else to Kyle Chandler. I felt more invested in Kong's stuff more than Godzilla's stuff. And that's a problem. Because it comes off as Kong's journey and Kong himself is much more interesting in context than Godzilla in this film. And that sucks, because I watched Godzilla's films more than Kong's films. Like, I haven't seen Kong Skull Island, and I was more invested in Kong because the movie follows Kong way too much. Like, Godzilla is just out of the picture for like 35 minutes, and then you only bring him back for like the second fight, and then you finally have the fight at the third act when everything goes down. And it was so stupid to me that with a lot of what was going on in regards to, say, this big creature or whatever that Apex was building and everything like that. It sucked because it comes off as another stupid cliche. Because it comes off as, oh, they were building it as a way of humans taking over some kind of creature to be able to fight Godzilla. And then all of a sudden the tech goes wrong. It's like that's been done a million times in film and entertainment. Humans trying to build technology to fight off these creatures, and then that technology goes wrong and it goes haywire and has a mind of its own. And you have to have these monsters fight that creature, and it's just. I thought that was stupid. That was the only thing that I thought was stupid about stuff regarding Apex and Demian Bakir's character. And I felt so stupid too, because Alexander Skarsgård is met by Demian Bakir in the beginning of the movie. And they basically strike up a deal to go to Hollow Earth and extract this material, not knowing that Demian Bakir is using this material for their tech creature to fight against Godzilla. Because that's what the deal was at first, was we're going to go to Hollow Earth and find this thing to help fight against Godzilla, because there's one side that's against Godzilla, there's one that's for Godzilla. And yet, it honestly felt like he kind of forgot about this deal. Like, his entire arc with Kong going into Hollow Earth and having Kong show them the way to it is pretty much just, okay, it's like that deal just kind of lost its idea, and his arc now is getting Kong to Hollow Earth. And that's it. Like, there's no confrontation of, you made a deal with this guy who is very obviously a bad guy. Really, dude? Or something like that. There is no, we had a deal, or anything like that either. It's just my father gets what he wants, and they find out that some of these people are bad guys, and then they try and escape in a ship, and all of a sudden Kong just crushes them, and they're dead. That's it. It's like they were as pointless as I thought they'd be. And that sucks, because it comes off as, oh, the monster fights and everything regarding the Kong protagonists are entertaining, but these villains and Godzilla's plotline just doesn't really interest me because there's not much to it. And that sucks, because I did like this film when it was doing all the stuff that I did like. Like, I paid so much attention to. I felt so bad for Godzilla. He's barely in this. Like, after the first fight, he's barely in this for another 35 minutes, and then he just shows up. And that sucks. It's like you focus more attention on Kong's backstory, and that's stupid. But I don't know. That's just kind of something I hated. Because if you have a film called Godzilla vs. Kong, you know what you're in for. You signed up to say, hey, I want to watch this monster fight. I want to see Godzilla vs. Kong. But yet, they only fight once at like the 25-minute mark or something. And then they're separated, going about with human characters trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Like, the Godzilla crew are trying to figure out everything with Apex, and the Kong crew are discovering Hollow Earth and what it's about in regards to Kong. And that's pretty much it. And then they pretty much just have, oh yeah, we forgot that this was Godzilla versus Kong. Go ahead and have them fight again. I don't know. I just felt like that was a bit annoying. So that was what I thought was good. I thought what was good was the monster fights and the creatures and even the deaf girl with the sign language. I thought everything about that was fantastic. And I thought the story, and I thought I was much more intrigued by everything in regards to the mythology this time rather than the other films. But the bad stuff was having Godzilla and Kong separated for like a good majority of the time from their first fight to their second fight. And then having Godzilla out of the picture for like a good majority of that film. Of like the first and second acts, respectively, until the second fight. And focusing on Kong a bit too much. And not really giving Millie Bobby Brown or anyone in the Godzilla plot a bit too much to do. They don't really do anything. They just explore. And it just feels like these human characters don't really deserve a lot of attention because it's pretty much just they're out saying shit and doing shit, and that's about it. There's nothing that contributes to their world or anything. It's just they're just doing shit. That's it. At least with King of the Monsters, they talked about these titans and how they're the original creators and stuff like that, and how these titans are real heroes, and how it's gambling with the lives of billions and stuff like that. At least that kind of talk was there. You understood the kind of ramifications of it. Here, I don't feel like there are ramifications. It's just like, oh, we're focusing more on the fights without doing too much of the fights. I don't know. It just kind of irks me the wrong way. But I did think Brian Tyree Henry was pretty good, except for some of the comedic moments. And I also thought that Alexander Skarsgård's cast and everything, I thought that was pretty good too. I felt more intrigued by that. The visuals were fantastic, by the way. But that's pretty much about it. So Godzilla vs Kong, it's pretty good with a few things that I didn't really like that much, and I thought that some stuff would have been tweaked, and it would have been a much better film than the final product. So that was my Preston reviews of Godzilla vs. Kong. What did you think of Godzilla vs. Kong? Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Or did you think it was a mixed bag like I did? Or what did you vote for, Team Kong or Team Godzilla? I could not decide a team as I was watching the movie. I was definitely because I was definitely rooting for Kong a good majority of the movie because of the fact that it was focusing too much on Kong. And I'm not gonna spoil who the winner is, in my opinion, at all. I'm not gonna do that. But that's it. So that's my review, and I will see you guys soon. Take care.